Super Mario Bros. A necessity for gracious living.
1985 was the incredible year that the gaming world was changed with the release of the first Super Mario Bros. Title. This iconic Nintendo classic was so brilliant, it would alter the face of gaming forever, setting a new standard for the quality of video gaming excellence. From World 1 through to World 8, people would traverse the exotic Mushroom Kingdom, visiting every castle on a mission to rescue the beautiful Princess Peach from the clutches of the evil Bowser. The game was beloved not just for the pioneering surface level gameplay, but also for the innovative secrets which could be discovered within. But what many of you won't necessarily know is that there is one secret within the game that you could have easily missed during your childhood. A secret that literally opens up whole new worlds of possibility. So, without further ado,
I am Later Decade and this is the secret of the Super Mario Minus Worlds.
When gaming within the United States of America was at an all-time low, and much of Europe was focused on microcomputers, over in Japan something amazing would happen. The birth of Super Mario Bros. The pair of pesky plumbers are often credited with rejuvenating the US console market, with their classic game serving as the blueprint for all side-scrolling platformers to come. Since the rise of this iconic platforming romp, Super Mario Bros. Has gone from strength to strength, quickly becoming one of the most significant franchises the world has ever seen, with Mario himself going on to appear in over 200 games in his career. Super Mario Bros. High quality, perfectly balanced difficulty progression and smooth side-scrolling gameplay has embedded itself into the hearts of quite possibly billions of people on this little planet. Something which has been a staple from the start was the ingenious secrets scattered throughout the game, such as famously running along the top of the underground section in World 1-2, allowing you to cheekily skip a chunk of the game, or finding the mysterious beanstalk hidden in a block in World 4-2, further adding to the wonderment and sense of anything being possible. Players discovering these by accident or searching for them purposefully based on playground rumours made players feel like kings amongst men. But as mentioned earlier, some secrets within the game were even tougher to find and, even more interestingly, were not even placed in the title intentionally. And it's these secrets which cause some rather exciting things to happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you the Minus Worlds.
Minus worlds, I hear you say. What are minus worlds, and how do we get to them? Let me explain. Well, you see how usually when you progress through Mario Brothers, you can get through worlds 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, 2-1, etc, etc. Minus worlds have gained their nickname as they break this convention, showing one number on screen rather than two as usual. So instead of getting a stage numbered like 1-1, you would just get -1, for example, instead. Hence the name Minus Worlds. These mysterious stages cannot be accessed through traditional in-game progression methods, such as playing through the title stage by stage or using warp pipes in an intended manner. So instead, to explore these forbidden areas, we need to rely on glitches. As with many glitches in Super Mario Bros., they can be taken advantage of to do strange things not intended by the developers for the player. In this story's case, to gain access to the first of these almost mythical minus worlds, we can access one by exploiting a specific glitch. This is achieved by manipulating a particular set of warp pipes by approaching them in a way which was not intended by Miyamoto and chums. Mentions of the Minus Worlds trick can be found referenced in popular media as early as issue 3 of Nintendo Power, published back in December of 1988, with the Minus Worlds being described as an endless water world from which no one has ever escaped. A pretty accurate description considering the stage seems to loop forever. To access the minus world, Nintendo Power advised players to break the second and third blocks along the top section of this part of the stage. In my experience though, breaking only the second block has been enough to make this glitch work. Step 2, you then stand Mario on the edge of the pipe facing away from the wall, ready for his next move. Step 3, you get Mario to crouch and jump simultaneously and push him to the right at the zenith of the jump. If you have executed this maneuver correctly, Mario will glitch through the top of the wall into the area where the warp pipes are located.
Absolute witchcraft.
Getting this next part is vital. Basically, for the warp pipes to work in the correct traditional manner, the screen needs to move along far enough to refresh the code, allowing the pipes to transport Mario to worlds 2, 3 and 4, respectively. However, we are trying to mess things up to stop the game from letting this happen, essentially sending Mario somewhere different. How warp pipes work is that they are assigned a specific number as a shortcut to different worlds within the game. Taking the hidden warp pipes located within World 4-2 as an example, takes you to the designated worlds 6, 7 and 8, depending on which pipe you take. For the pipes to work correctly, the screen must be refreshed for the correct code to be available and for all of the pixels on screen to be in the right place at the right time. Therefore, if you can theoretically access a warp pipe before the screen can refresh, then it's entirely possible to bypass the intended destination and end up somewhere entirely different. So this brings me to explain how we reach the minus world specifically. Had you entered this area correctly by running along the top of the ceiling of this underground area, this glitch would not be possible as the design makes allowances for the required refreshes. The key is to access this area, but without letting this wall on the right appear, which is only possible via pulling off the clipping through the wall trick. The moment you get too close to the far wall, the screen and code refresh, and the world numbers will appear above the pipes, therefore missing the opportunity to exploit this lovely little glitch. Clipping through the first wall though, jumping down the first pipe, and not letting the wall at the very end of the stage to show, gets Mario to our strange intended destination.
Now you see me, now you don't.
With regards to this trick, it is worth noting that it is also possible to use the third pipe. However, I preferred to use the pipe on the left, so as not to risk losing my progress by letting that end wall spawn more easily. Either way, taking either of these pipes takes Mario to that forbidden endless water stage, with, I guess, there being more fun in pulling off the exploit than playing the actual stage itself. Fun fact, if you take the pipe in the middle as opposed to the others, it will transport you to World 5-1 instead of the minus world. The Mario Wiki explains, the reason the middle pipe leads to World 5-1 is that the game is loading data from the World 4-2 over the top warp zone, not the one above the vine. That has only one pipe leading to World 5-1, and it does not realise that the player is in the World 1-2 warp zone until the room is completely loaded, i.e. the brick wall becomes visible. The other two pipes in that warp zone are blank and registered as 36, the number used for blank tiles in the game, causing the game to lead to World 36-1 when the player enters the world. Super Mario World is not programmed to display a double-digit stage such as 36-1, which is why we instead get -1. Explaining the randomness of why the game tries to send players to stage 36 is quite technical, but I'll do my best to try to make sense of it. Say we go to World 4-2 and we choose to go to the warp zone, which is accessed by running above the stage to the lone pipe leading to World 5. You'll see there is only one pipe available. There is only one pipe available here, but there is still code for 3 of them. These values are 36, then 5, then 36 again. So why the number 36, you may ask? Well, 36 is apparently the number assigned to blank tiles in the game, which is why when we confuse the game enough, we can trick it into sending us to stage 36-1. This means that by using this glitch on World 1-2, the reason it works is that the game thinks you've just entered the screen for the warp zone leading to World 5. However, this time, the pipes for World 36 are both visible. Therefore, providing you don't go too far and expose the far wall, the room won't refresh and revert to the correct warp zone for World 1-2. That is because the data held is, in all technicalities, the default data for the warp zones. As discussed, pulling off this glitch and going down one of the 36 pipes brings us to the underwater stage filled with bloopers and cheeps, which infinitely loops until either you die or the timer runs out. Even if you reach the pipe at the end of the stage, you're merely transported back to the start of the stage, which may make you think that this is the end of the story around this cool trick. But oh no, things do not end here. If you are a little bit more exotic like me, and just so happen to own a Famicom disk system copy of the game, a necessity for gracious living I may add, an even more mysterious minus world can be accessed using this awesome exploit.
So what happens with this version of the game?
Clipping through the wall and going down the first pipe this time grants you access to a series of back-to-back finishable stages, with you eventually saving Princess Peach and actually finishing the game. The first stage, i.e. World -1 on the Famicom disk system, is very much like World 1-3, but with some really weird differences. The gameplay mechanics are just like an underwater stage, though this is clearly not an underwater stage. To make things worse or better, depending on how many drugs you take, there are floating Princess Peaches, a floating beheaded Bowser, and the colour palette is somewhat muddled up, resulting in some very trippy visuals. You also get a flagpole at the end of the stage, though the flag is missing.
This is the sort of lunacy you want really for accessing forbidden stages.
Speaking of this stage, there is a kicker though. If you pass the flagpole fairly low down, you'll be able to progress to World -2. However, if you go too high, the game will not progress any further, meaning you have to know what you're doing to carry on exploring this bizarre part of the game. World -2 is identical to World 7-3. However, if you die after passing the checkpoint, Mario respawns under the bridge. This means you die over and over until you run out of lives. So provided you're careful, you can progress to World -3. World -3 is the final stage and looks much like World 4-4, though the fake Bowser and maze areas are missing. The colour palette is that of underground sections, and there are plenty of horrible flying bloopers around to mess with you too, which, if stomped, garner 1000 points. If you get to the end of the level, Toad's message, "Thank you Mario, but our princess is in another castle," is still there, however Toad is not visible on screen. Finishing World -3 takes you back to the title screen, and, if you are so bold, you can start the game from scratch. The game starts on hard mode, the Goombas are all gone, having been replaced with Buzzy Beetles. All in all, it's quite trippy to think that the simple original Super Mario Bros. Game houses so many strange secrets, with tricks like this from back in the day said to be a key reason behind Shigeru Miyamoto including a secret ninth world within the Japanese version of Super Mario Bros. 2. So the Minus Worlds had a huge legacy impact on the franchise, even as far back as the 1980s. But in a cool twist, rather interestingly, there are even stranger hidden stages deep within this game, which I would love to explore with you in more detail in a future upload. But if you enjoyed this one, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and watch this video about an all-night Nihon Super Mario Bros. Peace.